Ambassador Doyen stood in the center of the massive chamber, surrounded by creatures from across the galaxy. The Galactic Council chamber was built from crystal that caught and reflected light in every direction. Above him, floating platforms held representatives from 847 different civilizations. They all looked down at him. They all looked down at Earth. Doyen held a data tablet in his hand. On it were proposals that had taken Earth's best minds 3 years to prepare. Trade routes that would benefit everyone. Defense agreements that would make the galaxy safer. Cultural exchanges that would help species understand each other better. He believed in these proposals. He believed they would help humanity find its place among the stars. He was wrong about what would happen next. Distinguished members of the Council, Doyen began, his voice steady and professional. Earth comes before you today with proposals that we believe will strengthen our mutual prosperity and security. The laughter started before he could finish his sentence. It began with the Velthron section. The Velthra were tall beings covered in blue scales, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like embers. Their prime minister, a massive creature named Volthan, slapped one of his hands against the platform railing. The sound echoed through the chamber like a gunshot. "The monkey world speaks of security," Volthan's voice boomed through the translation systems. "Tell me, Ambassador, how many true warships does Earth possess? 50? 100? Doyen kept his face neutral. "Earth maintains a fleet of 243 combat vessels." Prime Minister. The chamber erupted. Laughter rolled through the platforms like thunder. Beings from 1,000 worlds found this hilarious. 243 ships. The Velthra alone had more than 20,000. 243? Volthan repeated, making sure everyone heard. "I have more ships in my personal escort fleet, and you want to discuss defense agreements?" More laughter. Doyen noticed his hands were shaking. He gripped the tablet tighter to stop the trembling. The Sarathi warlord rose from his platform. The Sarathi looked like massive serpents with arms, their scales colored in patterns of red and black. Warlord Kassith bared his fangs in what might have been a smile. 200 years, Kassith hissed, his words dripping with contempt. 200 years in space. And the humans think they deserve a seat at the table. My civilization has traveled the stars for 40,000 years. What can you possibly offer us? Doyen opened his mouth to respond, but Kassith continued. I have fought in 300 battles. I have conquered 12 star systems. And you, representative of the monkey world, want to teach us about warfare? Kassith's laughter was a sharp, hissing sound. Go home, little human. Play with your primitive toys and leave the real work to actual civilizations. The insults continued. The Krillian Trade Consortium representative, a blob-like creature named Hrax, spoke next. Earth's trade proposals are rejected, Hrax announced, his voice bubbling through his translator. Furthermore, the consortium hereby cancels all existing trade agreements with human colonies. Effective immediately. Doyen felt his stomach drop. Consortium leader Hrax, those agreements represent food supplies for 3 million colonists. We need time to... You need nothing, Hrax interrupted. You have nothing we want. You produce nothing we need. Earth is irrelevant. Other civilizations began following the Krillian lead. One by one, representatives stood and announced they were terminating agreements with Earth. Defense pacts that had taken years to negotiate were dissolved with a wave of appendages. Cultural programs were ended. Scientific cooperation was canceled. Through it all, Doyen stood in the center of the chamber. He recorded everything on his tablet, every insult, every cancellation, every species that joined in the mockery. His face remained calm, but inside, something was changing. Chairman Brechtal of the Kalith finally called for order. The Kalith looked vaguely humanoid, but with skin like gray stone and eyes that had no pupils. Brechtal was ancient, having led the council for 200 years. Ambassador Doyen, Brechtal said, his voice tired and dismissive. Earth's proposals for equal voting rights in council matters are denied. Your species lacks the experience, the wisdom, and frankly, the power to have an equal voice. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, we will reconsider. Chairman, Doyen said carefully, Earth has contributed significantly to galactic society. Our medical research has saved millions across multiple species. Our agricultural techniques have ended famines on 17 worlds. Yes, Brechtal waved a hand. You are useful servants, but servants do not sit at the master's table. This audience is concluded. The platforms began to rise, preparing to leave the chamber. The representatives were done with Earth. They had made their position clear. Humanity was nothing. Humanity would remain nothing. Doyen looked up at the retreating platforms. He saw Voltan laughing with other representatives. He saw Kasith discussing something with his aides, probably already forgetting Earth existed. He saw Rax pulsing with what might have been satisfaction. He saw everything. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Mira watched the proceedings on a secure channel. She sat in Earth Defense Command, a facility buried deep beneath the mountains of what used to be called Korea. Around her, dozens of officers monitored screens and data feeds. Admiral, one of her aides said quietly, they're tearing up every treaty we have. Mira's jaw tightened. She had served in Earth's military for 30 years. She had fought pirates in the outer colonies. She had negotiated with alien species who barely considered humans intelligent. She had endured their condescension, their mockery, their casual cruelty. She had been waiting for this day. Contact all fleet commanders, she said quietly. Tell them to stand by. In another location, President Junho sat in Earth's Situation Room. The president was a compact man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. Around the table sat generals, admirals, intelligence directors, and scientific advisors. They all watched the same broadcast from the council chamber. They've made their choice, one general said. Yes, Junho replied. They have. Ambassador Doyen returned to his ship in orbit around Caris Prime. His staff surrounded him, asking questions, expressing outrage. He ignored them all. He walked to his private quarters and sealed the door. Then he sat down and opened a secure communication channel directly to President Junho. Junho's face appeared on the screen. Mr. President, Doyen said, his voice perfectly calm. They've made their position clear. Every treaty is canceled. Every agreement is void. They called us monkeys. They called our civilization irrelevant. They laughed. I saw, Junho replied. Then you know what I'm going to recommend. Say it anyway. Doyen looked directly into the camera. I recommend Protocol Omega, sir. It's time to show them what humans really are. President Junho was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Recommendation accepted, Ambassador. Come home. We have work to do. The communication ended. Doyen sat in the darkness of his quarters, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the council members were celebrating. They had put Earth in its place. They had reminded humanity of its insignificance. They had no idea what was coming. Doyen smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of someone who had been underestimated their entire life and was about to prove everyone wrong. They wanted us gone, he whispered to the empty room. Congratulations. They're about to get their wish. The emergency session of the United Earth Council began exactly 12 hours after Ambassador Doyen returned to Earth. The chamber was full. Every representative from every continent attended. Military commanders stood along the walls. Scientific advisors filled the observation galleries. Everyone knew something important was about to happen. President Junho walked to the podium. He did not look angry. He did not look upset. He looked calm, dangerously calm. Members of the council, he began. 3 days ago, our ambassador was humiliated before the entire galaxy. Our treaties were canceled. Our agreements were torn apart. 847 civilizations watched as we were mocked and dismissed. They called us monkeys. They called us irrelevant. They called us primitive. He paused, looking around the chamber. They were wrong. A screen behind him lit up. It showed a star map of human space. Red dots marked official human colonies and vessels. There were perhaps 300 dots visible. "This is what the galaxy sees," Junho said. "This is what we've allowed them to see for 200 years. 300 ships, 40 colonies, a small, insignificant species that barely matters." He pressed a button. The map changed. Suddenly, thousands of blue dots appeared across the display. They filled the screen like stars. "This is the truth." The chamber erupted in whispers. Even the council members who suspected humanity had secrets looked shocked. "For 200 years, Junho continued, we have been preparing. Every insult we endured, we remembered. Every treaty they broke, we documented. Every time they underestimated us, we built more. We built in secret. We built in darkness. We built while they laughed." Fleet Admiral Mira stood and walked to the front. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and scars on her hands from years of service. She had lost her daughter in a pirate raid that the Council refused to investigate because human lives did not matter enough. "The Council believes we have 243 combat vessels," Mira said, her voice carrying through the chamber. "The actual number is 3,217. They believe we have 40 colonies. The actual number is 206. They believe our technology is primitive. They are about to learn otherwise." Another screen activated, showing a massive ship under construction in deep space. It was huge, larger than anything the Council had ever built. "This is the Indomitable," Mira continued. "Our flagship. It has been under construction for 15 years in a hidden facility beyond Pluto's orbit. The Council's scouts passed within 1,000,000 kilometers of it 7 times. They never saw it because our stealth technology is 50 years ahead of theirs." General Sungho stepped forward next. He was a broad-shouldered man with a face that looked like it was carved from stone. He commanded Earth's ground forces. "We have 40,000 Marines trained and ready for deployment," Sungho said. "We have established listening posts in 73 Council systems. We have mapped every military installation, every trade route, every strategic choke point in their territory. We know where they are strong. More importantly, we know where they are weak." A younger officer, Captain Hieji, approached the podium. She commanded Earth's stealth reconnaissance fleet. Her ships were small, fast, and completely invisible to Council sensors. "My fleet has been operating in Council space for 8 years, Hieji reported. "We have monitored their communications. We have watched their fleet movements. We have studied their tactics. 6 months ago, I positioned 12 of my ships inside the Velthron home system. They never detected us. We could have destroyed their orbital stations at any time." "Why didn't you?" someone asked from the gallery. Hieji smiled coldly. "Because we were waiting for them to give us a reason." Intelligence Director Jiwon was next. She was a small woman who rarely spoke in public, but everyone knew she was the most dangerous person in the room. Her intelligence network reached across the entire galaxy. "We have complete intelligence files on every Council member species," Jiwon said. "We know their military capabilities, their economic vulnerabilities, their political divisions. We have agents in 70% of their governments. We know things about them that they don't know about each other." She pulled up a document on the screen. It showed classified Velthron military communications. For example, the Velthra's Prime Minister Volthan has been embezzling from military budgets for 30 years. His fleet looks impressive, but 40% of their ships have faulty reactors. The Sarathi warlord Kassith has been planning to assassinate 3 other Sarathi leaders. The Krillian Trade Consortium is on the edge of bankruptcy and has been lying about their financial status for a decade. "How did you get this information?" a council member asked. Jiwon's smile was thin. "They underestimated us. They thought we were too primitive to conduct proper intelligence operations. They were careless around us. They said things they shouldn't have said. They left systems unsecured that should have been protected. We learned everything. Dr. Tae-hyung, Earth's chief weapons scientist, stepped forward. He looked uncomfortable, like he always did when discussing his work. He was a thin man with glasses who would rather be in his laboratory than making presentations. Our weapons technology is significantly more advanced than anything the Council possesses, Tae-hyung said quietly. We developed adaptive shielding that changes frequency in real time. Their weapons cannot penetrate it. We created missiles that track targets through quantum signatures. Their countermeasures are useless. Our FTL drives are twice as fast as Council standard. We can be anywhere in the galaxy before they can respond. Why did we hide all of this? Someone asked. President Junho answered, because we needed time. If the Council knew our true strength 20 years ago, they would have crushed us before we were ready. So we played weak. We endured their insults. We accepted their contempt. And while they laughed, we built an arsenal that can challenge the entire galaxy. Ambassador Doyen stood up in the back of the chamber. All eyes turned to him. He looked different now. The diplomatic mask was gone. What remained was someone who had been patient for far too long. I spent 10 years smiling while they mocked me, Doyun said. I spent 10 years being polite while they treated me like a servant. I spent 10 years carefully documenting every insult, every broken promise, every act of cruelty. I know exactly who laughed the loudest. I know exactly who voted to cancel our treaties. I know exactly who called us monkeys. His eyes were cold. I know all their names. President Junho raised his hand. The chamber fell silent. The question before us is simple, Junho said. Do we accept their judgment? Do we accept that humanity is irrelevant? Do we go quietly into the darkness they have prepared for us? No, came the answer from every corner of the chamber. Then we have one option, Junho continued. We withdraw from every treaty. We abandon every agreement. We step outside the system they created to keep us down, and we show them what happens when you mistake humanity's patience for weakness. He pressed another button. The screens showed Earth's hidden fleet activating across the solar system. Thousands of ships that had been powered down, hiding, waiting. Now they came to life. Their engines glowed. Their weapons charged, their shields activated. Send the message to every council member, Junho ordered. Earth withdraws from all treaties, agreements, and diplomatic protocols, effective immediately. Tell them they wanted us gone. Tell them they got their wish. Admiral Mira smiled. It was not a kind smile. Admiral Hieji, activate your fleet. I want every major trade route under human control within 24 hours. General Sungho, prepare your Marines for boarding operations. Dr. Tae-hyung, I want all weapon systems at full operational status. Director Ji-won, activate all intelligence assets. She turned to the gathered officers. We spent 200 years being underestimated. Today that ends. Today we remind the galaxy why you should never dismiss humanity. Today we show them that the most dangerous thing in the universe is not the predator that roars. It's the prey that has been quietly sharpening its teeth. Across Earth's hidden facilities, military personnel moved to battle stations. In secret shipyards beyond the outer planets, massive vessels powered up for the first time. In deep space, stealth ships that had been positioned for years received activation codes. On 100 hidden bases throughout the galaxy, human agents prepared to act. The Council had mocked Earth. They had called humanity weak. They had dismissed humans as irrelevant. They were about to learn the most important lesson in galactic history. Never underestimate someone you've pushed too far. President Junho looked at the assembled leaders of humanity. They wanted to know what Earth could offer the galaxy. Now they'll find out. We offer justice. We offer equality. We offer a choice. He paused. Join us in building something better, or get out of our way. And if they choose neither option, then we will remove them ourselves. The order went out across every human channel, from Earth to the farthest colony. After 2 centuries of patience, humanity was done waiting. The galaxy was about to change. And it would change because humans had finally decided to stop pretending to be weak. The Council had laughed at Earth's proposals for peace. Now they would face Earth's preparation for war. The Galactic Council received Earth's withdrawal notification at exactly midnight, Galactic Standard Time. Most representatives were sleeping. Those who were awake read the message and laughed. Humans withdrawing from treaties was meaningless. Earth had no power. Earth had no leverage. Earth could be safely ignored. Then their communications networks started failing. The first to notice was the Krillian Trade Consortium. Shrax was reviewing financial reports when every screen in his office went dark. He tried to access the network. Nothing. He tried emergency channels. Nothing. He tried his personal communicator. It displayed a single message in perfect Krillian script. "Hello, Consortium Leader, this is Earth. We need to talk." Across the galaxy, the same thing happened simultaneously. Council communication networks went offline. Not crashed, not damaged, simply taken over. Every major channel now broadcast a single image, Earth's flag. Under it, a message. "We gave you peace. You chose contempt. Now face the consequences." Captain Hyegi sat in the command chair of her stealth ship, the Silent Dawn. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly and efficiently. They had trained for this moment for 8 years. "All ships report ready, Captain," her first officer said. Hyegi looked at the tactical display. It showed 412 star systems across Council space. In each system, one of her ships waited, invisible and ready. "Execute Phase 1, she ordered. "Let them see us." Across the galaxy, human stealth ships deactivated their cloaking fields simultaneously. Suddenly, Council sensors detected vessels that had been hiding in their systems for months or years. Panic spread like wildfire. In the Velthron home system, Prime Minister Volthon was awakened by alarms. He rushed to his command center to find his military advisors staring at their screens in horror. "Report!" Volthon demanded. "Sir, we have 12 unknown contacts in the system. They appeared simultaneously. They're positioned around our orbital stations. They have weapons lock on all critical infrastructure." "What kind of ships? Where did they come from?" The tactical officer's voice shook. "Sir, they're human." Volthan felt his blood turn cold. "That's impossible. We would have detected them." "Apparently not, sir." One of the displays activated. Captain Hyeji's face appeared on every screen in the Velthron command center. "Prime Minister Volthan," she said pleasantly. "Do you remember what you said to our ambassador 3 days ago? You said you had more ships in your personal escort than Earth had in its entire fleet. You said we play with primitive toys." Volthan could only stare. "My ships have been in your system for 6 months," Hyeji continued. "We've watched everything. We've listened to everything. We know where every one of your vessels is located. We know every patrol route, every security code, every weakness in your defenses." She smiled. It was not friendly. "You were right about one thing. This is a game. But we're not playing with toys anymore. Stand down your fleet. Do not attempt to resist. If you cooperate, no one needs to die today." "You wouldn't dare attack us," Volthan said, trying to sound confident. The entire council is dealing with their own problems right now," Hyeji interrupted. "Check your long-range sensors. Actually, don't bother. I'll show you." The screens changed to display a galactic map. Red dots indicated human ships. There were thousands of them, positioned at every major trade route, every strategic system, every council military installation. "This is happening everywhere," Hyeji explained. "Every single council member is receiving the same message. Stand down or face consequences. Your choice." In Sarathi space, Warlord Kassith was having a similar conversation. The human commander facing him was different, but the message was the same. Kasith, who had conquered 12 star systems and fought in 300 battles, found himself looking at weapons he didn't understand and technology he couldn't counter. "You called us monkeys," the human commander said. "You said we should go home and play with our toys. I want you to understand something, Warlord. While you were busy conquering systems that couldn't defend themselves, we were studying you. Every battle you fought, we analyzed. Every tactic you used, we learned. Every mistake you made, we noted." The commander leaned forward. "You're not facing frightened colonists anymore. You're facing humans. And we've been preparing for this fight since the first day we met you." Kasith tried to rally his fleet. His ships moved to intercept the human vessels. The battle lasted 17 minutes. Not because it was fierce, but because that's how long it took for human weapons to systematically disable every Sarathi warship in the system without destroying a single one. Kasith watched his fleet fall apart. His weapons couldn't penetrate human shields. His sensors couldn't track human movements. His ships couldn't escape human missiles. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. "This is impossible," Kasith whispered. "No," the human commander replied. "This is what happens when you underestimate your enemy for 200 years. General Sung-ho commanded the marine operations from Earth Defense Command. His forces had trained for years in zero-gravity combat, boarding actions, and rapid assault tactics. Now they moved with perfect coordination across dozens of systems simultaneously. "Alpha Team, report," Sung-ho ordered. "We've secured the Council outpost at Meridian Station, General. No casualties on either side. Defenders surrendered once they realized we had already breached their inner security." "Beta Team?" "Gamma Station is ours, sir. They didn't even resist. Apparently, they received reports of what happened at Meridian." "Charlie Team?" "Talos Base secure. The commander asked if we were really going to treat prisoners well or if that was propaganda. I told him we're not the Council. We don't abuse prisoners." Sung-ho nodded. This was important. Humanity wasn't trying to become the next oppressor. They were trying to change the system. That meant treating even enemies with dignity. "All teams maintain professional conduct. Anyone found mistreating prisoners will face court-martial. We're better than what they expected. Let's prove it." In space, Admiral Mira coordinated the overall operation from the Indomitable. The flagship was everything Dr. Tae-hyung promised, and more. Its shields could withstand anything the Council could throw at it. Its weapons could strike targets in different star systems. Its sensors could track a single ship across half the galaxy. "Admiral, the blockades are complete," her tactical officer reported. "All major trade routes are under our control. Council shipping has stopped moving." "Any resistance?" "The Kalith Defense Fleet attempted to break through at Sector 7. We disabled them in 11 minutes. No Council casualties." "And our casualties?" "None, Admiral." Mira allowed herself a small smile. 0 casualties. That was the goal. Show overwhelming force. Give them no choice but to surrender. Don't kill unless absolutely necessary. "Broadcast the terms to all Council systems," Mira ordered. "They can continue normal operations if they stand down their military forces and cease all hostile actions against human interests. Trade can resume once they acknowledge Earth's sovereignty. We're not here to destroy them. We're here to end their tyranny." Commander Sung-hoon ran the cyber warfare operations. His team had spent years infiltrating Council networks. Now they activated protocols that had been dormant for years. "We have control of Veltron military communications," one of his technicians reported. "They can't coordinate their fleet movements without us knowing." "Sarathi command networks are locked," another said. "They're trying to reset, but every time they do, we're back in within seconds." "Kalith financial systems are accessible," a third added. "We can see every transaction in their economy." Sung-hoon watched the data flow across his screens. The Council had built their networks assuming no one could break their security. They were wrong. Human computer technology had advanced far beyond theirs because humans had to work harder to achieve the same results. Being underestimated had made them better. "Don't damage anything," Sung-hoon ordered. "We're here to demonstrate capability, not cause harm. Let them know we could cripple their systems but choose not to. Fear of what we could do is more powerful than actually doing it." Dr. Tae-hyung monitored the weapons performance from his laboratory. Every system performed exactly as designed. The adaptive shields worked perfectly. The phase missiles tracked through FTL with complete accuracy. The energy weapons operated at 98% efficiency. "It's working," his assistant said, sounding amazed. "Of course it's working," Tae-hyung replied. "We tested everything 1,000 times. But I wish we didn't have to use them." "Sir? I built these weapons to defend humanity, not to threaten others. But they left us no choice. Sometimes peace requires showing you're capable of war." Across the galaxy, Council leaders faced an impossible situation. Human ships surrounded their worlds. Human forces controlled their communications. Human weapons demonstrated technology they couldn't match. And through it all, humans offered terms. Stand down. Accept change. No one has to die. Chairman Brechtel called an emergency council session. Representatives attended virtually, since human control of space lanes made physical meetings impossible. "This is madness," Brechtel said. "How did they do this? Where did these ships come from? This fleet didn't exist 3 days ago." Ambassador Doyen's face appeared on every screen. He was back on Earth, but his presence filled the council chamber. "It existed," Doyen said quietly. "It always existed. You just never bothered to look. You were too busy laughing at us to notice we were preparing. You were too certain of your superiority to imagine we might be your equals." "What do you want?" Brechtal demanded. "What we always wanted," Doyen replied. "Respect, equality, justice. The difference is, now you have no choice but to give it to us." President Junho appeared on every screen in council space at exactly noon, Galactic Standard Time. There was no warning. Human control of communication networks meant they could broadcast anywhere, anytime. Every news channel, every government facility, every public display suddenly showed the same image: Earth's president, flanked by Fleet Admiral Mira and Ambassador Doyen. Junho looked directly into the camera. His expression was calm, but his eyes were hard as stone. "People of the galaxy," he began, "I am President Junho of Earth. Today I speak not just to the Galactic Council, but to every civilization, every species, every individual who has ever wondered if the Council truly represents your interests." He paused, letting his words sink in across thousands of worlds. "For 200 years, Earth has tried to work within the Council system. We followed their rules. We accepted their judgments. We endured their contempt. We believed that patience and good faith would eventually earn us the respect we deserved. We were wrong." The screen split to show recordings from the council chamber 3 days earlier. Volthan laughing. Kasith calling humans monkeys. Harax canceling treaties with casual cruelty. Brechtal dismissing Earth's proposals without consideration. "This is how the Council views humanity," Junho continued. "This is how they have always viewed us, not as equals but as servants, not as partners but as resources to be exploited. They canceled our treaties. They mocked our proposals for peace. They made it clear that humanity will never have a voice in their system." His expression hardened. "So we are done asking for permission. Effective immediately, Earth formally declares war against the Galactic Council as an institution. Not against individual species, not against innocent civilians. Against the system that has oppressed the weak and enriched the powerful for thousands of years." The galaxy reacted with shock. War against the entire Council. Earth had lost its mind. They would be crushed within days. But Junho was not finished. "Let me be clear about our grievances. Over 200 years, the Council has stolen resources from human colonies under unfair trade agreements. They have refused to protect human ships from pirate attacks while demanding we pay for Council security. They have suppressed our technology development by denying us access to key research. They have treated human lives as less valuable than those of other species. He pulled up document after document. Each one showed a specific injustice. A human colony that requested aid during a famine and was denied. A human ship that was attacked and received no Council response. A human scientist whose discoveries were stolen by Council members. The list went on and on. "These are not isolated incidents," Junho said. "This is systematic oppression. And it does not just affect humanity. 17 other species have contacted us in the past 3 days. They have their own stories, their own grievances. The Council does not serve the galaxy. It serves itself." Admiral Mira stepped forward. "Our demands are simple," she said. "The Galactic Council must be dissolved. Its leadership must surrender to stand trial for crimes against sapient species. A new governing body must be created, one where every civilization has an equal voice regardless of their military power or economic influence." "These terms are non-negotiable," Junho added. "The Council has 72 hours to comply. If they refuse, we will take military action to force compliance." Chairman Brechtal appeared on split screen, broadcasting from the Council chamber. He looked furious. "This is insanity," Brechtal shouted. "You think you can threaten the entire galaxy? You think your handful of ships can challenge our armadas? We have 50,000 warships. We have resources from 800 worlds. You are one planet." Junho's expression did not change. "Chairman Brechtal, you are operating on outdated intelligence. We are not one planet. We are 206 colonies. We are not a handful of ships. We are 3,217 warships, with more being commissioned daily. We are not primitive. Our technology surpasses yours in every meaningful way." He leaned forward. "But more than that, we are not alone. Check your communications. 17 civilizations have declared neutrality and requested Earth's protection. They would rather trust humans they've known for 2 centuries than a council that has failed them for millennia." It was true. Smaller civilizations had been sending messages to Earth constantly. Species that the Council had dismissed or exploited saw an opportunity for change. They were choosing Earth's promise of equality over the Council's guarantee of subjugation. The Krillian Trade Consortium was the first major power to break. Hrax appeared on screen, looking deflated. "The consortium offers complete capitulation to Earth's terms," Hrax announced. "We surrender our military assets and request mercy for our civilian population. In exchange, we offer full access to our trade networks and economic data." Junho nodded. "The consortium's surrender is accepted. All consortium civilians are under Earth's protection. No harm will come to them. We will discuss economic reparations later, but no species will be left in poverty. That is our promise." This caused chaos in the Council. If the Krillians were surrendering, maybe Earth actually had the power to win. Maybe this wasn't a bluff. Volthan tried to rally support. "The Velthra will never surrender to humans. We have 20,000 ships. We will crush Earth and end this madness." "Prime Minister Volthan," Captain Hyeji's voice came through the broadcast. "I am currently in orbit around your home world with 12 ships. My weapons are locked onto your planetary defense grid. If you attempt to mobilize your fleet, I will disable every orbital platform you have. You will not get the chance to fight." Volthan's face went pale. "Your 20,000 ships are impressive," Hyeji continued. "But 40% of them have faulty reactors because you've been embezzling military funds. We know this because we've been monitoring your communications for 6 months. Would you like me to broadcast the evidence to your entire civilization? I wonder how your people would react to learning their military is underfunded because you wanted a bigger palace." Volthan's screen went dark. He had no response. Warlord Kassith was more defiant. "The Sarathi fear nothing. We will fight until the last warrior falls. We will show humanity what it means to face true warriors. Strike Commander Yuna appeared on screen. She was young for her rank, barely 30 years old, but her record spoke for itself. She had led covert operations for 8 years without a single failed mission. "Warlord Kasith," Yuna said calmly, "3 hours ago, my teams infiltrated 17 of your military bases simultaneously. We placed monitoring devices in your command centers. We mapped your defense networks. We identified every strategic weakness in your systems, and then we left without anyone noticing we were there." She pulled up footage from inside Sarathi bases. The timestamps showed it was recent. Kasith's warriors, supposedly the fiercest in the galaxy, completely unaware that human commandos had walked among them. "You're not facing warriors," Yuna continued. "You're facing professionals. There's a difference. Warriors fight with honor and passion. We fight to win, and we've already won. You just haven't realized it yet." Kasith's claws gripped his armrests hard enough to crack the metal, but he said nothing. Intelligence Director Jiwan provided the killing blow. She appeared on screen, surrounded by screens displaying classified information from every council member. "I have files on every council representative," Jiwan said. "Financial crimes, political corruption, military secrets, personal scandals. I know which ones have been lying to their own people. I know which ones have broken their own laws. I know everything." She smiled coldly. "And I'm prepared to release all of it. Every secret, every crime, every betrayal. The galaxy will learn exactly what kind of beings have been leading the council. Unless you surrender, your choice." The threat was clear. Fight and be exposed. Surrender and keep your secrets. For politicians who valued their power, it was an easy decision. Smaller council members began announcing neutrality, then cooperation with Earth, then outright support for humanity's demands. The council was fracturing. Chairman Brechtal made one last attempt. "You cannot win. Even if you have technology, even if you have numbers, you cannot fight the entire galaxy. We will mobilize the full council armada. 50,000 ships will descend on Earth and end this rebellion." Junho smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Chairman Brechtal, I was hoping you would say that. Fleet Admiral Mira, please show the chairman what awaits his armada." The screen changed to show Earth's solar system, but it wasn't the empty space the council expected. Thousands of ships filled the void. Massive defense platforms orbited every planet. Weapon installations dotted the asteroid belt. The solar system had been turned into the most heavily fortified location in the galaxy. "Bring your 50,000 ships," Mira said. "Bring everything you have. We'll be waiting." She turned to face the camera directly. "But know this, if you attack Earth, you won't be fighting frightened colonists. You'll be fighting humanity on our home ground, with all our resources, all our technology, and all our determination. We've spent 2 centuries preparing for this possibility. We've built defenses you can't imagine. We've developed weapons you can't counter. We've trained warriors who will never stop fighting." Her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more weight than a shout. "You can attack, you can try, but if you do, I promise you this. By the time your fleet retreats, every species in the galaxy will know that humanity is not to be underestimated." Ever again. President Junho returned to the center of the screen. "The choice is yours, Chairman. Surrender peacefully and help us build a better system, or fight and force us to tear down the old one by force. Either way, the Council as you know it is finished. The only question is how many people die before you accept that reality. You have 72 hours. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, beings from 1,000 worlds stared at their screens in silence. Earth had just declared war on the most powerful institution in galactic history, and somehow, impossibly, it looked like they might actually win. Chairman Brechtal did not wait 72 hours. He gave the order within 12. The Council Armada would mobilize. 50,000 ships from 100 different civilizations would converge on Earth. Humanity would be crushed. The natural order would be restored. The fleet gathered at the edge of Council space. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Ships from the Velthra, the Sarathi, the Kalith, and dozens of other civilizations formed a wall of metal and weapons that stretched across light years. Commanders who had never agreed on anything united in one purpose: destroy Earth's ability to resist. Volthan commanded from his flagship. Kasith led the Sarathi battle groups. Brechtal himself traveled with the fleet, certain that his presence would ensure victory. They jumped to FTL, heading for Earth's solar system. They were confident. They were powerful. They were wrong. The fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of Earth's solar system. Sensors immediately began scanning for human ships. They found them. 7,843 vessels, arranged in defensive formations around Earth. Volthan laughed. They brought everything they have. It won't be enough. All ships, attack formation. The Council Armada moved forward, then stopped. Every sensor on every ship was suddenly screaming warnings. Thousands of new contacts were appearing. Not ships jumping in from FTL, ships that had been there all along, hidden, waiting. Stealth fields dropped across the solar system. The human fleet wasn't 7,000 ships. It was over 12,000. How? Volthan whispered. Admiral Mira's voice came through on all frequencies. Did you really think we would tell you our true numbers? Welcome to Earth's system, Admiral. You're trespassing. Leave now or be removed. Brechtal ordered the attack. The Council fleet opened fire. Human shields absorbed the barrage like water against stone. Then, humanity returned fire. The Battle of Saul lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes. Historians would study it for centuries. Military academies would teach it as the perfect example of technological superiority overcoming numerical advantage. But in the moment, it was simply devastating. Human missiles phased through Council shields like they weren't there. Energy weapons adapted frequency to penetrate any defense. Ships moved in patterns that confused enemy targeting systems, coordinating through quantum communication networks that couldn't be jammed. Captain Hyeji led the vanguard. Her ships danced through enemy formations, disabling vessels with surgical precision. No kills. That was the order. Disable, don't destroy. Show mercy even to those who showed humanity none. Target their engines and weapons, Hyeji ordered. Leave life support intact. We're not here to commit murder. Her crews obeyed. Velthron battleships found themselves adrift, weapons offline, but crews safe. Sarathi carriers lost propulsion but maintained life support. Kalith cruisers went dark, their systems shut down by human cyber attacks, but every being aboard survived. Warlord Kasith tried to rally his forces. He was a warrior. He had fought in 300 battles. But he had never fought anyone like this. Every tactic he tried, humans countered. Every strategy he employed, they anticipated. It was like fighting an enemy who could read his mind. "They're in our communications," one of his officers shouted. "They know our orders before we execute them." Commander Sung-hoon had infiltrated the Sarathi command network months ago. Every order Kasith gave, humans intercepted. Every formation change they predicted. The Sarathi fleet wasn't fighting Earth. They were fighting themselves while Earth watched. General Sung-ho's Marines boarded disabled ships, securing them with professional efficiency. No brutality, no unnecessary force. They treated prisoners with dignity, providing medical care and ensuring no one was harmed. One Velthron officer stared in confusion as human Marines helped his wounded crew. "You're not going to kill us?" The Marine looked at him like he was insane. "Why would we kill you? You're prisoners, not enemies. The war is with your leadership, not with you." Strike Commander Yuna led elite teams against the Council flagship. Brechtal had surrounded himself with the best guards from a dozen species. It didn't matter. Yuna's teams moved like ghosts, bypassing security, disabling defenses, reaching the command deck in under 20 minutes. Brechtal found himself surrounded by humans in black armor. He reached for a weapon. Yuna shot it out of his hand without injuring him. "Chairman," she said calmly, "you're under arrest for crimes against sapient species. You will be transported to Earth to stand trial. You will be treated fairly and given legal representation. You will not be tortured or abused. We're not like you." Brechtal stared at her. "You're making a mistake. The Council has existed for 10,000 years. You cannot simply destroy it." "We're not destroying it," Yuna replied. "We're replacing it with something better." The battle ended when Volthan's flagship lost power. The Velthron Prime Minister sat in darkness, listening to reports of his fleet being systematically disabled. 20,000 ships, the pride of Velthra, beaten by humans they had called primitive. Admiral Mira's face appeared on his emergency screen. "Prime Minister Volthan, your fleet is defeated. Stand down and surrender. We have medical ships standing by to treat your wounded. No one else needs to die today." Volthan slumped in his chair. "How did you do this? How did monkeys defeat us?" Mira's expression was cold. "We're not monkeys, we're humans, and we defeated you because we had to be better than you. You had the luxury of arrogance. We had the necessity of excellence." The surrender broadcast went out. The Council Armada stood down. Human ships moved among the wreckage, rescuing survivors, treating wounded, ensuring that even defeated enemies were cared for. It was not what anyone expected. Conquerors did not show mercy. But humans were not conquerors. They were teachers, delivering a lesson the galaxy needed to learn. Across Council space, species watched the broadcasts. They saw the overwhelming human victory. But more importantly, they saw how humans treated their defeated enemies, with dignity, with care, with the promise that a better system was possible. Smaller civilizations began openly supporting Earth. The Dravik people, who had been exploited by the Council for centuries, declared full alliance with humanity. The Yanari, whose requests for aid had been ignored for decades, pledged their support. One by one, species who had been overlooked and undervalued found hope in Earth's promise of equality. President Junho traveled to Karis Prime, the Council's home. He walked into the Great Crystal Chamber where humanity had been mocked just days earlier. This time, he was not alone. He was accompanied by representatives from 40 civilizations who supported reform. Ambassador Doyun stood beside him. This was fitting. Doyun had endured the insults. He deserved to be present for the victory. "The Galactic Council is hereby dissolved," Junho announced to the assembled representatives. "In its place, we establish the Galactic Assembly. Every civilization, regardless of size or power, will have one vote. Decisions will be made by majority, not by the powerful forcing their will on the weak." He looked around the chamber. "There will be trials. Those who committed crimes will face justice, but those who were simply following bad leadership will be given a chance to participate in building something better. We are not here for revenge. We are here for reform." A war crimes tribunal was established. Council leaders who had abused their power were tried fairly, with human lawyers ensuring they received proper defense. Volthan was found guilty of embezzlement and abuse of power. Kassith was convicted of war crimes against civilian populations. Others faced similar judgments. But the trials were fair. Evidence was presented. Defense was allowed. Some were acquitted. Humanity proved they meant what they said about justice. The Galactic Assembly held its first session 3 months later. Representatives from over 1,000 civilizations attended. Each had one vote. A colony of 10,000 had the same voice as an empire of 10 billion. Ambassador Doyen was elected as the first Secretary General. He stood at the podium where Brechtal had once ruled, looking at faces from across the galaxy. "This is what we wanted from the beginning," Doyen said quietly. "Not power, not dominance, just equality, just respect, just the chance to work together as equals rather than as masters and servants." He paused. "Earth shares its defensive technology freely with all members. We share our medical advances. We share our agricultural techniques. Because we learned something the old council never understood. The galaxy grows stronger when everyone prospers, not just the powerful." Fleet Admiral Mira retired after the war. She had served for 30 years, fighting for humanity's survival and eventually its victory. She spent her remaining years teaching at Earth's military academy, ensuring the next generation understood that power must be tempered with responsibility. Captain Hieji became the new Fleet Admiral. Her first order was to establish joint training programs with former enemies. Veltran pilots trained alongside humans. Sarathi Marines learned from Earth's tactics. Former adversaries became partners. President Junho completed his term and stepped down. He was remembered as the leader who changed the galaxy, but he always insisted he simply had the courage to do what needed to be done. General Sungho oversaw the integration of former Council military forces into the Assembly's peacekeeping units. Warriors who had once fought for conquest now protected the weak. It was a better use of their skills. Dr. Taehyung returned to research, this time focusing on technology that could help rather than harm. His defensive shields were shared freely. His medical scanners saved millions of lives across hundreds of worlds. Intelligence Director Jiwan created an intelligence-sharing network where species could collaborate on fighting crime and terrorism. The secrets she had gathered about Council corruption were sealed, never to be released. Justice had been served. Further humiliation served no purpose. Strike Commander Yuna trained special forces from dozens of civilizations, teaching them that victory without honor is just another form of defeat. 5 years after the war, Ambassador Doyen stood in the assembly chambers watching representatives debate trade policy. They argued, they disagreed, but they did so as equals. No one was mocked, no one was dismissed. Every voice mattered. A young aide approached him. "Sir, there's a delegation from a new species requesting membership. They just achieved FTL capability. They're nervous about meeting other civilizations." Doyen smiled. "Tell them the Assembly welcomes them. Tell them they will be treated with respect. Tell them they're among equals here." The aide left. Doyen looked around the chamber one more time. He remembered standing here years ago surrounded by contempt. He remembered the laughter. He remembered Volthan calling humans monkeys. He remembered Kassith dismissing Earth as irrelevant. He remembered Brechtal denying humanity's basic rights. And he remembered the moment he sent the message to President Junho recommending Protocol Omega. The moment humanity stopped asking for respect and started demanding it. "They ridiculed us," Doyen said quietly to himself. "They thought we were weak. They thought we were nothing." He smiled. "We taught them the most important lesson in the galaxy. Never underestimate someone you've pushed too far. Never dismiss someone who has nothing left to lose. Never mock someone who has been quietly preparing to prove you wrong." The galaxy had learned. Humanity had taught them. Not through cruelty, but through strength. Not through tyranny, but through justice. Not through conquest, but through the simple act of refusing to accept that might makes right. The Council had ridiculed Earth. Earth had ended every treaty overnight, and in doing so, humanity had shocked the galaxy awake. They had forced change that was long overdue. They had created something better, and they had done it all because they refused to accept that being underestimated meant being inferior. The galaxy was better for it. and humanity stood not as conquerors, but as guardians of the principle that all sapient beings deserve respect, regardless of how long they've traveled the stars. They had been mocked, they had been dismissed, they had been called monkeys, and they had changed everything.